game to happen. Joe, we're a part of the Wade Brigade over here on Off the Bench. We wouldn't be doing our part if we asked you if that is a possibility and what can we do to make it happen.
I have no idea.
No chance it could happen?
How's that to start the day off?
All right.
I have no idea. I mean, I brought check this business.
So no chance we can have a throwback game at the Cow Palace.
I didn't say that.
Oh, all right. Leaving it open.
I said we'll look into it.
Your football team experienced great success on the field this year with 9 regular season wins. The expectation going into the year was much below that. I wonder how you measure success inside of your office with what happened on the field to what was expected to the group on how they were to perform.
Well, this was a great year for LSU football, considering what all the experts expected. And whenever you exceed expectation, that's a good thing. But there's a lot of things that go into evaluating the program, and that's things like recruiting, how the kids are doing in school. There's all sorts of things that go into evaluating the football program, and I think that Coach Ogeron and his staff has done a terrific job, and they continue to do that out on the recruiting trail and motivating their players and reaching out to the fans and doing all sorts of good community service. So I think that the program's in good hands and headed in the right direction.
The Fiesta Bowl for LSU fans was a lot of excitement because it was a spot that they had not been. The Bowl's been operating since 1971, LSU going for the first time. Have you heard the feedback from the fan base on making the trip over to the Glendale, Phoenix area?
Well, the response that I've heard from Rick Perry and TAF and from our ticket office is that the fans are excited, and there's been a lot of requests for tickets. So we'll see. I think it's a great destination, just an absolutely gorgeous part of the country. And like you said, it's a place that we have never been before. So I hope the novelty of that will attract our fans to go.
And so you can offer us some very unique insight into this, Joe. Take us kind of behind the scene from the athletic director's view. What is the process like in selecting that bowl game or having it selected? Like, how much give and take is there? How do you go about finding out that y'all are getting sent to the Fiesta Bowl?
Well, the process now, T-Bob, is totally different than it used to be. It used to be you could politic and talk to the bowls and promise them that you were going to sell a lot of tickets and all that kind of stuff. But now, that's totally out of the equation. Where you go in the bowl process for the New Year's Six Bowls is totally in the hands of that football committee. They totally make the decision. The bowl has no input, and we have no input. The bowl committee assigns the games. After those 6 games, then there is some politicking for the other bowl games, the group of 6, because for those bowl games, you put in your request where you'd like to go to the conference office. The bowls put in who they'd like to have, and then the conference office kind of assigns it, but they try to do what the bowl and the team and the schools want. So there's more politicking in those games, but for the ones that we're in, the New Year's Six bowl games, politicking is totally out of it. The committee has full control and makes all the decisions, and that's just the way it is now.
Talking to LSU Athletic Director Joe Alleva here on Off the Bench, 104.5, 100.3, 94.7 ESPN. Joe, it's been a pretty crazy year for LSU. So we kind of talked about the success versus the expectation. The journey had some tenuous moments between the LSU fan base and the SEC office, right? You think about the Devin White targeting hit, still very questionable, some very questionable calls in that A&M game. What has your office's experience been like dealing with that SEC league office this year?
Well, I've talked to them a lot. I've talked to them more than I want to. I'll tell you that much. Particularly after both of those events that you've mentioned, I spent a lot of time on the phone with the commissioner and with Steve Shaw, the head of officials, and I hate that. I hate that we have those kind of problems. But I think that bringing it to their attention and talking about it, I think, and I don't know, I'm just going to speculate that I believe that there'll be some changes in the way that communication's done and in the way that they explain things from the conference office. I think that those days coming very quickly. I think they realize that they need to be more transparent, and I think they realize that they probably need to communicate a little bit better. So we'll see.
And speaking of communication, something before the season that we talked to you about and that you were very vocal about was fighting on behalf of Christian Fulton. Now, unfortunately for Fulton, the season ends in an injury. He has to have surgery. He talked to his father yesterday, but it was an incredible year for Fulton. As an AD, have you ever had a like single player where you've kind of felt as, I don't know if responsible is the right word, but was it kind of extra nice watching the success he had on the field, knowing what you had done to kind of get him back on there?
Well, that's a good point. I tell you, I really feel close to the kid. He's a wonderful kid. I mean, I've really enjoyed getting to know him. It's kind of unfortunate that I had to get to know him the way because of what happened to him. But I'm really proud of the way he handled everything before he was allowed to play and after he was allowed to play. He's just a wonderful young man, and it's so sad that he hurt his ankle. I hope he makes a full recovery here in a few months.
Joe Alleva joining us from New York City, getting ready for the college football award ceremony that'll be handed out this weekend, and a lot of Tigers featured there. The first team AP All-SEC team was named Devin White, Greedy Williams, a part of that first team, Cole Tracy on that first team as well. Joe, we obviously talked about the decision that Greedy Williams and that Devin White made yesterday and the consultation that goes in from the coaches and the administration. How does that work when you're dealing with your student athletes during this time period where they have a chance to see their future earnings sitting in front of their face with just a couple of months left on campus or a couple of weeks on campus?
Well, I think the most important thing that we can do for our student athletes is be honest to them and just tell them the truth. Like, there's no question that Greedy's going to be a top draft pick, and same with Devin. But there are also a handful of kids that will not be high draft picks, and they probably are better off staying in school trying to improve their stock so when they get their first contract, they can make a lot more money. And all we can try to do is get as much information as we can from the pros and the scouts and the general managers and just be as totally honest with them as we can. I think that's our job, and that's what Ed and his staff are trying to do, is just lay it out to the kids as honest as we can be and let them make their decision.
Yeah, and speaking of Coach Joe and his staff, it's been a really good year, like you said, for LSU. They surpassed expectations, New Year's Six Bowl incoming. Has there been any talk about an extension between your office and Coach Joe?
Oh, not yet, but I think we'll probably have some conversations down the road, but we haven't had any yet. The season's still not over yet.
One element of college football that is never changing, in fact, it seems like it's completely increasing year to year, is the kind of arms race in terms of facilities and everything else. Where do you think LSU sits currently, and then what are kind of the plans for the future?
Well, you're right. It never stops. And our plans are in place right now. We're renovating and expanding the football ops building because we had to keep up with the Joneses. Our building was great 10 years ago, and it kind of fell behind a little bit. So we're adding a nutrition center and expanding the meeting rooms and the players' lounge, and the locker room's going to be unbelievable. The training room's being totally redone. It'll be a brand new building when it opens up. So I think that's part of keeping up with the Joneses, and a huge part of it. And we renovated the weight room, as you know, a couple of years ago, and that's awesome. And so, things like that you just got to keep doing to impress recruits and keep the good players coming to LSU.
Yeah, and Joe, y'all made changes to the stadium as well, including opening up the chute this year. And we kind of made fun of the chute at first. Egg on our face a little bit. I went to the chute. It was awesome. I had some tasty beers. Other Tiger fans got to watch part of the games. It was rainy and stuff. Seems like it was a great idea. What was the kind of return that y'all are hearing from the chute this year?
Well, we had a great response from our fans. Everything was very positive. In fact, T-Bob, we're looking to try to create a couple other mini shoots around the stadium.
Yeah. I'm fully on board now.
And I think we're actually trying to. Well, I think we're going to create a couple of spots around the baseball stadium too, where people may be able to buy an adult beverage. So I think that's important for our fan experience. For those fans that like to have an adult beverage, I think it's good. And we're going to try to keep expanding in our venues around and seeing where we can be creative in that regard.
Speaking of baseball, high expectations again for your spring sports, headlined by Coach Paul Maneri and his crew.
I hope so. I really believe he's got a great outfield coming back. I mean, the outfield's going to be spectacular. The pitching staff should be stronger. Got a lot of veterans coming back. I know Paul's really excited, and I know I am. I'm looking forward to baseball season. I think we should be right up there with top teams in the country.
Enjoy New York City. Thanks for the info this morning.
Okay, guys. Thanks a lot.